Welcome to the 2025 Dialogue, a masterclass series by the HR Association of India. I am Neha Jagnani, and today's session takes us into the theme that lies at the intersection of leadership, growth, and human connection. Today's topic is the art of enabling others, coaching as a catalyst for growth. To guide us through this insightful conversation, we have with us Sasidhar Ambatipudi, who has close to 16 years of experience with careers in finance and human resources. His journey has been through IT, audit, and product organizations. In his current role, he is the director of HRBP and also leads the DIB functions at Pegasystems India. He's passionate about coaching and he's an ICF certified professional coach. He believes a coaching mindset is universally applicable and gives a very different paradigm to self and others. Beyond work, he's also a certified yoga instructor. Shashidhar, thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Neha, and I really appreciate HRAI coming up with these topics because these are going to be the strategic levers for a long career in our times. So glad to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Looking forward to this exciting masterclass, Shashidhar. So, to begin with, my first question to you is how can coaching contribute to creating a culture of ownership and accountability within teams?
Absolutely. You see, these are the two pillars on which the entire science of coaching is based on, by the way, because we have moved significantly over the last several years from a manager telling the individual to actually the managers or leaders in organization adopting a coaching mindset, which is about asking. Right? If you break down the words itself, ownership is about I own the outcome, I own the task, right? And accountability is I'm answerable for the outcome, I'm answerable for the way it's conducted, right? And that's exactly what coaching does to people. It's not about telling, it's about evoking that awareness, which means coaching focuses a lot on individuals' ability to understand the situation, stretch the thinking, challenge their paradigms, and ultimately commit to actions. Hence, it is actually built on the foundations of ownership as well as accountability. Now, if you see how adults learn, a bit of neuroscience, since you also mentioned yoga piece there in the introduction, is adults learn when they are empowered to try and do things, right? And that's why coaching is a wonderful tool, especially for people who are trying to clarify the thinking, right? There might be several options in front of them, they're not sure, they need somebody to help them think through for themselves and ultimately come out with what is most suitable for their context, right? Therefore, the ability to help people see through what their biases are, or for that matter think through on the best possible outcome, it depends a lot on helping them gather the choices, putting them in the driver's seat rather than be a passenger in the bus, which is what a typical teaching actually is, right? Or a management is all about.
Right.
Therefore, these two really drive. And the last point I want to tell on this is many successful people have always, when they peep into their past, they come up with one movement of eureka, like a mentor asked me something or my coach asked me something. That is supposed to be a lever which shifts the old thinking and opens up a new layer of opportunity for them. That actually happens in coaching, and we call it the generative illumination movement. And all of this is possible when at the very beginning the coach sets the ground saying, dear coachee, you are the one who will take decisions, I'm here to help you, but I'm not going to be the one deciding for you, right? So that's why these two play a very critical role in coaching as a science.
Sure. Beautifully put, Shashidhar. I especially like the point how the approach has changed from telling to asking, which eventually evokes that awareness within your coachee to reflect and to talk about the things that they are feeling and the fact that they should be at the driver's seat and not the coach. So thank you so much for that. My next question, Shashidhar, is what are some of the most powerful questions a coach can ask to unlock the potential in others?
Wow. You see, if there is one ammunition that coach has, it has to be the ability to contextualize questions. Usually, very thorough coaches don't go with a basket of questions and pull up during a conversation. That wouldn't be an ideal situation. What they will do is they keep the objective, the ultimate purpose of the coaching conversation in front of them, and then according to how the coach is navigating, use those powerful questions to trigger their thinking, right? Um, if I have to look at the set of powerful questions, I can give you a few, but let me put it this way. There are questions that evoke awareness, especially self awareness, which is very important in coaching. There are those that lead them to action. There are those that lead them to deeper reflection and introspection. And I will try to give a couple of questions for each of the category so that we really position it as such.
Sure.
But a step back to really see why are questions human brain works is the moment you ask question, your mind gets into what is called as a question answer mode. Your mind starts searching for answers, right? So it scans its database the way our large language models work. All my experience, my values, my interactions, my people, my dreams, it starts thinking in that manner to position what is the best response for a question.
Right.
In doing so, it also explores the strengths, it also explores the past successes, and which is where the coach would like to double click on, right?
Right.
These questions have to have certain characteristics. Like number one, the questions have to be open ended. It will be rare for a coach to actually ask a closed end conversation. The yes, no, true, false questions, generally a coach doesn't indulge in. So open ended. Number two, the coach would usually ask questions that also has a behavioral angle to it. Have you done it in the past, right? So bringing it down to the stage of reality at some point in the conversation, then keeping it at a philosophical level. What can be done, etc. Things like that. Number three is all these questions eventually are aimed at enlarging or stretching the thought process of the coachee, right? At the same time, the coach is very clear in his mind or her mind that I shouldn't be in an advise mode, which means the interaction should go in a manner that I keep asking the individual and helping the person discover rather than I hold the hand and lead to an outcome, which is an advice way of doing things.
Right.
So they say in coaching conversation that it can go to directive or non-directive, the other ends of the spectrum. Coaching usually plays in the non-directive way, whereas mentoring goes in the directive way. Mentoring is I walk through your experience and I'll tell you one, two, three things. Just go ahead and do it. Success is yours, right? The non-directive way is have you thought of that? Why do you think that's important to you? Right? Things like that. Making them think and choose.
Right.
Okay, with that as a background, then I'm going to tell you a couple of questions. Firstly, self-awareness questions, things like how does that make you feel? It's very logical and structured for us to just come up to say what I think about you. I have an opinion on you. The coach reflects back and pulls the awareness of the individual from an external phenomena to an internal. So, question like, how does that make you feel? Would you have seen it go any other way? If you have to relive this, what would you do different? Things like that will make the individuals realize and reflect on how are they showing up rather than how a phenomena affects them. End of the day, coaching is all about the person then thinks. At this point, I want to recommend to the viewers there is a famous book by Marcia Reynolds. I guess that's the name. Don't hold me if it's wrong, but the book name is Coach the Person, Not the Problem. Okay, the title itself says a lot about coaching, right? If I come to a coach saying that, hey, I'm unable to make a decision whether should I stay in the company or move out of the company, the coach will never say go for option B. The coach will actually ask self-awareness questions on which opportunity is closer to your values. What are the drivers for you to decide? What made you even start searching? Right? What are the two things that you felt fulfilled in the role versus two things that you're still looking for? These are the kind of questions that coach will make the individual think on so that they reflect. So this is all self-reflection. There is another angle called the possibility line of questioning. And this is personally my favorite because it just helps them jump a quantum higher, right? Things like, what are you not considering, right? Or if you had nothing to lose, what would you try? Okay? If your mentor were looking at you, how would they describe the situation? Okay. 5 years later, if you have to describe this situation without emotion, what are the facts that you bubble up on top of your mind? Suddenly, questions like this, in one way, you are budging the reality for them a bit, right? So they start thinking more objectively, number one. Number two, they will not go with the temporary emotional high or low, but rather look at it in the context of other life goals that they are pursuing, right? So the possibility questions, as I call it, really open up their thinking to otherwise what their biases wouldn't have, and this is where the coach adds most value. Then there are another set of questions such as action oriented question. End of the day, there is no point of having insight about oneself without having an action to move forward. That's why in coaching conversation, it is considered a cardinal sin that if you just leave the individuals with awareness and say time up without doing something about it as a next step. So questions like, what is the one thing you will do right after this conversation? What are you willing to sign up? How will you hold yourself accountable? Things like 24 hours from now, if you have to reflect on your action statement from this conversation, will it be different from what you just said? Which means, is time a factor in your motivation? Is clarity a driver in your motivation? Questions like this, we try to put it in a manner that's very succinct and useful for them, right? Anyway, I think long answer, but the point is, the questions are really the arsenal that the coach comes in, because the objective here is, I'm going to help you become more aware. I'm going to help you discover the right path for you as a coachee. So questions are those levers. By the way, last point on this, a question is not really just question to enlarge the conversation. The way the questions can be asked, I mean, you have infinite possibilities of what can be the next question. The coach chooses a particular question because of two reasons. Number one, there is a logical flow to the conversation and you are moving towards an outcome that you want as a coachee. Number one. Number two, each question has not just an inquiry, but also a reflection element in it, a reflective inquiry, as they call it. Actually, in the language of coaching, coaching by definition is called as a process of reflective inquiry. They don't call it questioning, right? So reflective inquiry, because the question itself makes you think and then respond, right? There are no rapid fires in coaching. So
Sure, sure. Thank you so much for breaking it down so beautifully. So, just to summarize, you said that there are three things that the coach should keep in mind. The question should be open-ended. Then it should have a behavioral element to it. Last but not the least, it should enlarge the thought process of the person that you're interacting with. And
absolutely.
lastly, the three big brackets under which different questions can come in. One is something that evokes self-awareness, then possibility line of questions, and lastly, action oriented. So thank you so much for
Absolutely.
breaking it down.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, very well summarized. Yeah.
Thank you, Sasidhar. My next question is for leaders who want to start integrating coaching in their daily interactions. Where should they begin from?
Okay, leaders showing up as coaches, what are the steps they can take? Okay, great question. Um, let's look at it this way. Contrary to popular opinion, coaching is not extra work, coaching is how you do your work, right? That itself is a very important paradigm, so that the whole mental shift that, do I need to put an extra effort or more time? Should I have a separate meeting? Is just out of the window, right? Coaching is how you show up. Usually what happens in organizations is that leaders are very busy, limited time, limited interactions with specific members. There's a rush to get to the goals, so there is a very natural propensity to tell, then ask, right? Have you done that? No. Do step 1 2 3, get it done with, that's it. Is a natural thing that we all hear and grew up in organizations, right? Now coaching will flip this. Coaching will recommend the leader, for you to start developing a coaching mindset, ask, don't tell. Hey, what's the big barrier here? How can I help you? Are you on track? Questions like this, which makes them respond in a manner that they are in charge of things. And when needed, I will come to you, dear leader. For now, I am in control. The coaching mindset will prepare that to the individuals, and that's the best way to measure it. How does your leader show up? If I am afraid, I don't have psychological safety, then there you are nowhere near a coaching mindset, right? The coaching mindset will actually tell you in terms of how your daily micro movements and the 2 minute conversations on the phone, also how you can approach with a coaching mindset. That's how it's actually done. So a couple of things leaders could do is number one, start by observing themselves, how they show up. It need not be a long drawn affair. It can be the most critical meeting of the day. Just look at how you are, right? Especially if you're talking to people who look up to you, your juniors, etc., because it's more easy to start. You have a positional authority. You also develop a personal and a coaching mindset to it. It will be more easily receptible by them, right? You can expand it to your peers, your leaders gradually. So start with the most important meeting of the day and just look at it. My mentor advised me that in group meetings, at least one meeting in a week, just to play back and watch yourself. Okay, what did you say? How many false starts? Were you asking or telling? Did you cut anyone? Right? These are things that promote a coaching mindset and a safe place to work in, right? So that's number one. Number two is start by asking questions on a variety of topics to them that are relevant to, of course, the goals that they're setting, right? In a manner like, hey, how is that showing up for you? Um, where do you feel you learned the most in the project you completed just now? Right? Where can I enable you better? I'm sure you'll approach me if you have an issue. Since you didn't, I'm assuming things are green. Are they? You know, questions like this, where your question will show trust on them, your questions will show availability, as well as your questions shows that there is a sense of seeking and learning and listening to the other person rather than telling in a hurry, right? Most of the feedback that in my life I have seen across organizations leaders get is active listening. They don't listen. They tell. They come to the meetings to share the wisdom, nuggets, vision, whatever, and rush to the next meeting, right?
Right.
So that's the third thing, where leaders are appearing to be listeners. And you can never be a coach if you don't listen in the first place what's going on, right? Because it's very normal for people to mask the real problem. It's tough for people to come out as vulnerable, right? It's very rare for people to say, you know what, I'm not understanding this, I might fail this, I need your help, is a rare thing in organization versus are you sure this is the right way, any other way, how would you do it? They are seeking answers, they are asking for help in those language terms, right? If you are in a manner still as a coach to understand and ascertain that, that itself will be the third point. The fourth point, I just mentioned a while ago, the term called vulnerability, very important one. You see, again, as adults, we reciprocate a lot of role modeling, right? We reciprocate behaviors. If you talk rude, I talk rude. You talk calm, I talk calm. Is a very subconscious process that happens in people's mind. So when you show vulnerability, saying that, oh my gosh, last week this is what I wanted to do, but I didn't. This is what I learned out of it. Then people will come out and say, this is actually a coaching mindset, whereby you are drawing out of them their own reflections on what could have gone better and helping them coach themselves in the process, right? And it starts with the leader by saying that I could have done this differently. Did you people notice anything else? Hey, by the way, any feedback on how I showed up last meeting? I know it was a short and I was in a rush. You are asking feedback shows that you want to develop as a person. That is the coaching mindset outcome, right? And you inspire that behavior. It becomes a role modeling for others to do. You see, that's that. Last thing, perhaps, not as a to-do item, but more of a perspective is, you see, the way human brain works, right? Like a CEO in an organization, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that does reasoning, creative jobs, everything, etc., that takes decisions for you. That part of it is best working when it is stable. Mindfulness, right? Mindfulness. If it is at a risk, if it is in a fight flight mode, it doesn't work to its best capacity. Which means for organizations, if you want the best of the best as leaders from your team, give them a space that allows them to speak, talk, think, speak failures, openly roll out suggestions, you know, some of those are coaching habits. And if that's not visible in the team, the coach should hold a mirror, or the leader should hold a mirror and see what is it in me that I'm not showing up to inspire a mindset of optimism and creativity or accountability in the team.
Sure.
So yeah, no, very pertinent question. I can go on this one because that's what I do on a daily basis here. But very pertinent question.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sasidhar. I really like the way you started, which is actually the highlight for me for this is coaching is not an extra effort. It is the way you show up. And
Absolutely.
finally, just to summarize the tips here is start by observing, start by asking questions, which shows your trust and availability, listening, vulnerability, which includes the feedback mechanism also. And last but not the least, your extra input on the mindfulness. So thank you so much for sharing that
Yes,
beautifully.
yes. You could add one more, which is that ask then tell in your micro movements that you meet your team, because it's very common to say, hey, did you finish that, or hey, I want you to do this, saying that I have this project, what would that interest you, I need to get this done, can I reach out to you for your support, how can I enable you. You see, the moment you start asking and people feel, oh, they have a choice on response, that itself is a step forward.
Sure.
So
Sounds
yeah.
good. So, Shashila, this brings us to the last question for today, which is how do
Hmm.
you measure the success of a coaching engagement, both for yourself and for the coachee?
Yeah, this has been ever since coaching started, the ROI of coaching also started in parallel being discussed. Well, the point is, coaching, the more senior the coach and the more deeper the individuals go, you move from helping a coachee get to a solution to helping a coachee get a paradigm to helping a coachee work at a values level, which is your innermost core. Now, obviously, the impact of each is so wildly different that the same set of metrics may not apply to everywhere, right? But at a very beginner level, if I have to say, from a coachee standpoint, it's about what changed in the way you think. Were you able to get to the outcome? Were your sessions leaving you with action items? These are the metrics in my view, right? A view. Then, if I have to, as a manager of the coaching, third person here, right, have to do a 360, the before after the coaching intervention, what has feedback changed, then what do your stakeholders now look at you as, how eager are you to pick up new assignments in an area where earlier the feedback said you weren't. Some of these elements would really capture what has been the needle movement for the coachee. But when it comes to the coach, there are several more in addition to these, right? The coach apparently has the holy duty to align to the structure of a coaching conversation. It's not very prescriptive, but there are so those broad markers, as they call it, which is about, did you set up a contract? I mean, every coaching conversation has to start by saying, what do you want to achieve out of this conversation? Before which we don't get to the details, right? So, are some of these markers adhered to? That'll inform how beautifully the coach has designed and led to an outcome, right? Markers being aligned, the average duration, how many times the coach is showing up, the coachee, was the assignment complete or did somebody pull off in between. These all are metrics to see how is the strength of the relationship, right? Now, more subtle coaches use very different amount of metrics, such as what is the coach saying after the intervention. While we have, say, a statement of purpose at the beginning, here are the three things I would like to work on. Now we'll ask the coach to deliberate on what has been the needle movement, their own self declaration, considering we trust them, right? Saying that I am able to think better, think clear, learn faster, have less luggage on this topic. These are words to define the success of a coaching relationship. And of course, we will also see things like, have they grown in their careers, depending on the coaching intervention, again, of course, right? I once trained this high performing woman employee who was looking for career growth, etc. In the next 12 months she did grow, but that was the least of what she states as her accomplishment. There were a lot of those mental speed breakers, as she used to call it, that are now leveled for a flat land where she can speed up without having a lot of self-inflicted pullbacks in career, right? This is tough to quantify, but the individual feels that and shows up in the team on a day-to-day basis to show. This, of course, is a subjective but a very essential metric on how. And last but not the least, one of the metrics we also look at is when did the coach sever the relationship with the coachee, right? This can't go on forever. It may create dependency. So, what's the size of your engagement? Is it 3 to 6 months? If someone says I'm on a 2 year coaching engagement, we usually raise a flag. That's way too long, right? You have to take a pause in between. The whole idea is let them fly. You can't take them on your flight, right? So, these are some of the metrics, but of course, there can be many more depending on the three layers that I explained: a problem level, mindset level, values level, right? The coaching intervention works very different on all three levels.
Sure. Thank you so much, Shashidhar, for clearly laying out some metrics. Of course, these are subjective to what the goals has been set, but great takeaways from this answer as well. So this brings us to the end of this masterclass, and thank you for sharing such grounded insights. You have actually reminded me that coaching isn't just about guiding others; it's about enabling self-discovery and also making sure that the impact is sustained and it affects the individual to the core, subject to whatever goal is in place. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much for your insights today.
Sure thing. Hey, last thing I would say this and close is, as a coach, we learn a lot through coaching about the other individual and about ourselves as well. Hence, a coach between two engagements actually takes some time off to come back to the neutral gear. Say you're in second gear, you just can't go to the fourth without coming to neutral, right? Or to the reverse gear for that matter. So, back to your point on metrics, how is the coach evaluating, taking pause to reflect and get ready for the next is also a metric we measure on. So, very important from that standpoint.
Sure, very informative, Shashidhar. Thank you so much. I'm sure our listeners are going to greatly benefit from this interaction. Thank you once again for joining today.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you, Neha. Thank you, HRAI. And thank you, everyone. Anything on coaching, please do let me know. I learn as much as I do coaching because this has been a game changer in the last 4 years for me. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.